MashaAllah, assalamu alaikum. I see people coming in right and left. We're up to 54, 57 coming in fast and furious. Welcome, everyone. So excited to have you here. Alhamdulillah, it's really nice. I know those of you who've been to webinars before, you hear from me a lot. Inshallah, I'm going to try to keep my part a little shorter today because we have just an amazing panel of hopefully four, but currently three amazing Muslim all-stars who are here to teach you. And alhamdulillah, we have a really full scheduled plan. There we go. There's our fourth. Assalamu alaikum, Dina. Welcome.
Walaikum
Um, and yeah, so inshallah, let me get started and share the slides just to get going. All right, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen, Sayyidina wa nabiyyana wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. So welcome to today's webinar. Our topic, how to ace your college applications, insights from Muslim students at Harvard, MIT, Columbia, and more. MashaAllah. We have an amazing panel. These are, alhamdulillah, most students that I've worked with before are known for a while, but also some new people who I've met since I started doing 5 before college who just blew me away with their commitment to scholarship and their amazing results and how much they know about this process. This is the reason why I went into teaching, to meet people like the four of you and I'm sure many of you in the audience as well. It's what keeps me going. You know, my mission is really to help uplift the Muslim Ummah as a whole, starting one teenager at a time. And you know, having these amazing people in front of me is really inspiring, and I'm really honored to be there. So let's just refresh our niyyah, inshallah, and take a moment just to, inshallah, make sure that we're here for the sake of Allah. Obviously, we're talking about a topic that's a little dunyawi, quote unquote. We're talking about college and, you know, and obviously there's a lot of earning potential and other things that go into that. But ultimately, we are here for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to please Him. رَبَّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِّسَانِي يَفْقَهُوا قَوْلِي. Bismillah. So, in the chat we have 132 people so far. Could you please share your name, where you're joining from today, and then the most recent thing you ate? So I'll give you a second to do that. Last time we did favorite food, we found some very interesting things. Now we're going to go a little more immediate and see the most recent thing you ate. Okay, be right with you. So if our mentors can start looking at what they said and maybe tell us what was the most recent thing you ate, Hikmah?
For me, the most recent thing I ate was a glass of apple juice. I did not prioritize
Okay,
my eating today, but hopefully I'm gonna get a good dinner after this.
Alhamdulillah, amazing. Okay, so we have Ilyas from Boston, ice cream, Osman, gingerbread cookies, a beef burger without the bun, mashallah, carb free. Let's see. Miraj with fruit, Nurkan, roasted chickpeas. Ooh, pizza. Yes, I just had pizza as well, a veggie pizza. Chai, mashallah. Fatima from Houston, Mustafa from California, gummy bears. Nice. The halal gummy bears, the ones in Turkey, are like, mashallah, ni'mah. Let's see, cup of noodles, mashallah. Jordan and cup of noodles. An apple, sushi from Dallas, Sacramento roast beef, mashallah. Chicken burger. Anyone else getting hungry? Goat meat, wow, mashallah. That goat curry actually brought me to Islam. I say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me hidayah through my stomach, so that's very cool. Cereal, nice. Shepherd's pie, rice, sea conch and shawarma, mashallah. We have a new business there. Okay, I can't even keep up with everything. All right, I'm gonna open up the one other thing on Zoom, a little demographic survey. Let's see, how do I do this? Polls. All right. So could you please, I'll keep this open for about a minute. You should see a poll. It asks you a couple questions about yourself. I'm going to keep reading through these. Dallas Kufta, Isra Kufta, mashallah. Nujaim, San Jose. Ooh, is that Puerto Rico? Halwa, Saad Biryani, mashallah. I'm jealous. Amina from Dallas ate a sandwich. Yassine from Boston macaroni salad. Abdul Razak tabbouleh, mashallah. Ibrahim chocolate chip cookies. Ahmed Mexican food, nice. Noor pasta. Zaid from California ate ice cream. Turkish delight, wow, mashallah. Burgers, chocolate cake. What an amazing ummah we have. Such diversity, alhamdulillah. Awesome. So I really just can't keep up. MashaAllah, we have so many people here. Allahu Akbar. It's such a pleasure. All right, we have 73% of you have voted in our demographic poll. Seen some really interesting data, alhamdulillah, which I will share with you very soon. So 10 more seconds, and then I'm going to stop doing that. Reading some more foods: mango, chicken and veggie pizza, milk, mashallah, potatoes and rice and meat, water. We have the healthy ones, mashallah. Chai, gelato, steak. Okay, I have to stop. All right, I'm going to close this poll in 5, 4, 3. Okay, now let's share these results. So this is what I'm seeing. We have 22% of you are mothers, 5% fathers, 3% middle school students, 66%, 2 out of 3 are high school students. That is great. You are the target demographic for this particular seminar. So it's awesome to have you here with our students. And we have a couple colleges and a couple of others. Almost 50%, 42% are seniors. That's awesome because you are right in the heart of this. Great to see some juniors and sophomores here as well, because even though you won't be going through this process immediately, it's right around the corner. It's going to sneak up on you, and mashallah, we see some other people as well. 60% public school, 20% Islamic school, 6% private school, 11% homeschool, mashallah, that's great to see, and a few others. We got 35% from New England, 32% from the Southwest Texas area, mashallah. And then the other big ones are the West, 20% from California, Washington area. And then we have Midwest and Southeast. Looks like Midwest, that's where we need to focus our spreading the message there. So any of you Midwesterners, please do the word, getting the word out about this. Okay. I said I wasn't going to talk, and I'm already talking too much, but I'll try to get through this quickly, inshallah. So housekeeping, you can't see them all, but it is a big group. So both the chat and the Q&A are enabled. Those are different functions. So, right, the Q&A chat is for things like what we just did, where you're sharing, things very powerful. The Q&A is for actual questions. Do not put the questions in the chat; they will get lost there. The other thing you can do, as some of you are doing right now, is there's a way to there's a way to do emojis and things like that, which is always very helpful when we're speaking to know what's really landing and not. So thank you for that heart and whatnot. You can upvote your favorite questions. That can be very helpful. The panelists can type their answers to some of those questions, depending on what they are, or they can choose to answer them live, and so on. We're going to try our best to keep this to 90 minutes. Okay, so we started at 7:30 Eastern time, so we're going to try to finish right around 9. Maybe a few minutes after, but we're not going to make this go on forever. So there will be time for questions. We unfortunately, given the numbers, we probably will not get to every single question, but we will do our best. Finally, we are going to be giving away either a Stanley water bottle, because apparently that's sort of trendy and kids like that, or if there are issues with lead or some other issue that you don't want that or you already have one, $50 Amazon gift card to the most engaged participants. So people who are really active in the chat and asking great questions and so on. And I'm going to let my wife, Sister Ruhina, I didn't tell her this, so I'm telling her now. She is there. She's helping out. I'm going to let her help me choose that. And finally, do not spam the chat or the Q&A. Last time we had an issue with that. Someone really wanted their question answered. They put it like 50 times. Very frustrating. Please do not do that, or else we will have to remove you. All right. This is the plan for today. I'm going to very briefly talk about myself and 5B4 College. Many of you have seen me before, so I won't talk about that. I'm not the star of the show today. Then our amazing mentors are going to introduce themselves, share their top admissions tip. Right? Then we're going to talk about the college essay bootcamp that these very mentors are going to be helping me out with, and these are mentors that you can actually work with. So as you're listening to them, think about that. Imagine actually working directly with them, and also some webinar exclusive bonuses that you can only get right now here while we're on the webinar. And then we'll go back to them. Each of the mentors, they're going to share a short excerpt from one of their applications or supplements, one of their essays or supplements. And then they're also going to talk about the things that they really specialize in within this application process, right? These are things that they specialize in. There are also things that they're going to be doing trainings in within the boot camp, you know, to train all the people who participate on those particular areas. And then at the end, we'll have the open Q&A. So hopefully that's clear. And so about me, alhamdulillah, I became Muslim back in 1994. So it's now 30 years, mashallah, this year. At the age of 15, I graduated from Harvard in 2001, studied Near Eastern languages and civilizations. Alhamdulillah, I lived all over the world. The last 20 years, I've been an educator. So Dina actually was one of my students. I've known Dina since 2014. So more than 10 years. She was my 8th grade student, my very first year. And I followed her all the way through Elmore, and I've also worked with her with 5B4 College. So alhamdulillah, it's wonderful to have her here. Alhamdulillah, I've helped place now hundreds. It might be getting closer to 1,000, but hundreds of Muslims in the country's top colleges. I'm a writer. I have a newsletter, and I founded this 5B4 College to help Muslim teenagers get into the college of their dreams and launch themselves towards success in this world and the next. And 5B4 College, very brief. Why does it call 5B4 College? There's 2 main reasons. The first is that the time to begin, like one of my biggest messages for immigrant families and people who aren't as familiar with the nuances of the college application process, is applying to college is not happening your junior or senior year. That's, yes, when we do this application stuff that we're talking about today, yes, that happens your junior summer into your senior year. But preparing for that moment happens way back in 8th grade and coming forward. And so that's why it's called 5 before college. But it's also called 5 before college because it's based on the 5 before 5 hadith. Ultimately, we are a company infused with Islamic ethos and values. Rasulullah said, take benefit of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before poverty, your free time before your busyness, and your life before your death. And so essentially my thesis is that if you focus on those 5 things for the 5 years leading up to college, then inshallah you will become a magnetic Muslim. And I'll talk about that one in the next slide, but you focus on your academics, your full-time job. You focus on athletics and taking care of your mind and body. You focus on wealth in the sense of exploring possible career options and preparing yourself through internships and whatnot. You focus on free time, spending your time wisely with good friends, and also doing extracurriculars like the many we'll hear from our panelists. And then most importantly, you focus on your character and your iman and your faith. If you focus on those 5 areas, you'll be an extraordinary human being, let alone an extraordinary college candidate, and you will become, inshallah, you will potentially get into one of these wonderful schools that many of our students get, but you will also, inshallah, become a magnetic Muslim. Okay, so a magnetic Muslim is someone, why chase after colleges when you can have them come chasing after you? The idea is that if you really focus on your deen and being the best Muslim that you can be and having the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ and just, going about your life, with that akhirah mindset, and so on, you will become someone that everyone wants to be around. And that's what these kids who are here today are like. So how crafting a compelling college application is the single most important thing you can still do. So this is something that's still in your power. So even though we do start 5 before college, we are here today to help really the seniors in particular. So if you're a senior, please perk up your ears as we go through this. And finally, we have gotten to our speakers. So we will, inshallah, go in this order. Hikmat, Ali, Dina, Omar. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And essentially the question will be, just introduce yourselves, tell us your story. You each have about 5 minutes, and then share your top piece of college admissions advice. So inshallah, we are going to start with Hikmat, inshallah. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Hikma Oladejo. I will be an incoming student at Columbia University in the fall, inshallah. And I am also a recipient of the Gates Scholarship. Just a brief thing about me is I am Nigerian. I enjoy talking to new people and meeting people and helping people however I can, which is the big reason why I was attracted to, this webinar and this platform. My biggest advice with the college process that I had to hold on to was the importance of the essay section. I felt like I had so many other aspects of my application that were at times lacking. But in my opinion, I felt like if there was anything that I could control, if there was anything that I could truly use to craft an image that represented who I am and my capabilities and everything that I was skilled enough to do, I felt like it was going to be my essays. So my biggest advice would be, do not overlook the essay writing process. It is truly an impactful way to kind of craft this image of who you are and the type of student that you'll be on the campus.
MashaAllah. Okay, we'll have more time for you. That was definitely, mashallah, less than 5 minutes. So there's a lot more to Hikmat. I did a wonderful interview with Hikmat, about a 45-minute interview that some of you may have seen. I put it in Path to College group. Mashallah, she's being very modest. There's a lot more, but we'll get into that through the Q&A and so on. And as she mentioned, inshallah, she's going to be starting at Columbia in the fall. And she also got mashallah, one of the top scholarships in the country, the Gates Scholarship, which is essentially covers the expenses beyond many of the expenses for college, and it's mashallah a very, very great honor to get that, and it's just amazing to have her here. Hikmat was one of the very first people I met when I started 5 before college. we had a meeting right around this time last year, end of July, and she just had a few questions about essays, and I tried to give her little tiny pieces of advice. Actually, Hikmat, in the thing, could you just mention like one thing that we talked about in that meeting that sort of had a big impact on you?
For me, the biggest impact was you said something along the lines of how, and I can never remember this, but how you shouldn't let like perfection like rob the good or something of the sort.
Don't
Because
let the
I'm a
perfect be the
huge
enemy of the good. Yeah.
yes, I'm a huge perfectionist, and that definitely helped me back to the point where like I'd essentially be just stuck looking at my paper, just not knowing what to write. And so his words and the fact that Brother Hamza also talked about how like, he had to push past his like procrastination. I felt like I could relate to that. And I was like, okay, well, it made it easier to kind of, take his advice because he's someone that actually goes through this idea of wanting to create such a beautiful craft, but then also like sometimes procrastinating and like that holding you back. So that was something that I really, really held on to, and that kind of like pushed me through my writer slumps at times.
Alhamdulillah. That's great. Jazakallah khair. Okay, we'll go over to Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali and I'll be attending UT Austin, inshallah, for computer science on 2 merit-based scholarships, the Foot Locker Foundation Scholar Athlete Scholarship and the Generation Google Scholarship. A little bit about me. Mine isn't also 5 minutes long, but maybe I can add a little bit more onto it. I currently run an AI consulting agency. We lead a team of developers for Meta, Google, Tesla, PayPal, and TikTok. During high school, I ran an AI education nonprofit through which I received grants from Hershey's and Taco Bell. And then in terms of demographics, I'm Indian Muslim, and then I'm also going into computer science. So that's like one of the most, I guess, stereotypical combinations there is. But if you're in the same boat, I guess I could help out with that as well. And in terms of specialty, I would say I'm based in Dallas, so I applied to a lot of Dallas schools. Some of the acceptances that I received were in computer science at Rice, UT Austin. And then when you go out of state, there's other public schools like Georgia Tech or UC Berkeley. And I do think the PIQs for the UCs are definitely my specialty. To add a little bit more onto that, I think how I met Mr. Hanshaw, Mr. Hamza, is I was actually selling all of my notes from when I interviewed maybe 100 different students. Essentially, I come from a very, very small charter school here in Dallas, Texas, and our counselors weren't really prepped to deal with the college application process. They weren't really prepped with that. Their main specialty was dual credit. So it was kind of up to me to do my own research and talk with the correct people and talk with the right people to make sure that my future is ensured. Essentially, I went on LinkedIn, I created a LinkedIn account, and I would reach out to these different Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Cornell students and schedule these interviews at weeks at a time. And I would write down all of their notes. I would say, just from the year before. So these guys are class of 2027. This is, updated information. I would write all of it down, take these notes, and then apply it to the essay that I'm using to my application. And what I did recently was actually compile all of that, as well as the essays that I received from them into like a Google Doc with 130, 140 pages. I was actually selling this, and then that's when Hamza actually came across my profile. We talked for a little bit, and what I was doing really aligned with what Five Before College was doing, and I think we found that alignment. Alhamdulillah, I'm here now. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Yeah, I was just blown away. I saw this. I'm in a lot of college groups and I see this Muslim guy post this thing about selling his notes, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? I love entrepreneurial spirit and so on. So then I met with him and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like within 5 years, Ali's going to be someone you're going to be reading about in the newspaper. Mashallah, he's such a go-getter. And I actually haven't talked to him about this, but those 150 pages are really spectacular. And I'm hoping that he might be willing to share some of that with the people inside of the College Essay Bootcamp. But even for people who don't end up joining that, maybe I think it is still a product that he is selling potentially. So if people are looking for just something like that, we can reach out and I can connect you with him, inshallah. Okay, I can't remember who I said next. I think it was Dina.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Dina. I am a recent college graduate, not a high school graduate, like the rest of the panel. So I graduated from Ed Noor in 2018, and went on to do my bachelor's at MIT in math and in the computer science and economics joint program with minors in education and philosophy. And then I stayed on at MIT for one additional year to do a master's in the computer science and economics joint program. And I recently started a few weeks ago as a product manager at Microsoft. My top piece of advice would be to do things that you really enjoy and to make the process of learning fun. I think like throughout this, and even throughout like the course, when we're actually mentoring you, we're going to give you like specific strategies, like how to structure your essays, like kind of how to think about yourself and like market yourself. And there's like, that's something I think is great to do after the fact when you look back at yourself and you think like, how can I tie this together? But I would not recommend like planning your life so that it looks good on paper, because I think people can really tell when you're not being authentic and when you don't enjoy the things that you do. And like they ask you in your interview about one of your activities, like they can tell if your eyes don't light up, if you're not excited to talk about it, if you're like trying to remember what you did because you only did it so you could talk about it. So to me, like I did like this really seemingly random like grab bag of activities during high school, and then I had to find a way to tie it together after the fact when I was writing my college applications. But that like was, I think, part of what helped me find the options that I did. And then I followed through with that in college by like studying a variety of different things. And even now, like my work in my career is also interdisciplinary. So I feel like throughout my educational path and my new career that I have stayed in that theme of like doing a variety of things and like not trying to really narrow down to like what I think is going to sell well. And ultimately, I think like being authentic works better and people can always tell.
Yeah, mashallah. And you know, again, I've known Dina longer than everyone else, and I can say, mashallah, everything she said is true. She's someone who, from 8th grade on, someone who's just in love with learning. She's one of the most curious people I know. Very, you know, and that authenticity shined through. I don't know if she'll read it later, but she has a great supplement, I think, for MIT or one of the schools, you know, where she's talking about being torn between humanities and STEM and how the whole world's telling her to choose, and she can't because she's both, and she loves them both, and she loves everything, and so on. And so a lot of kids talk about being undecided and not really sure. I think Dina's a perfect example of someone who's ridden the undecided train for a long time and just done so many amazing different things. And I'm fascinated because I don't know as much about your role at Microsoft that it continues even in that professional setting. So can't wait to learn more. Okay, and last but not least, we have Omar.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me? Okay. First I want to say I feel like I'm in really great company, mashallah, and I didn't think I'd be nervous, but I am. So let's see what I can cook up. My name is Omar. I just graduated high school. I'm gonna be a student, inshallah, next year at Harvard. So one of the best pieces of advice that I got this morning. And I've heard things always along the lines of you're gonna be okay, like regardless of what happens, Allah has a plan for you. But I heard a really, really good metaphor this morning. Not that I was preparing for this morning. Don't get it twisted. But I thought I would share. So my advice would be to go fishing. And the reason why I give this advice is because I saw a video of a brother, mashallah, he does like religious videos, and he said that you should go fishing and he's been there for 3 hours or whatever he said, and he hasn't caught a single fish yet, and he's not worried. The reason why he's not worried is because he said a hadith that says ما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك وما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك. So what this means basically is that everything that is in the cards for you, so to speak, everything that Allah has planned for you is is planned for you for a reason. Everything that is planned for you will happen, and it is Allah is the greatest of planners. So He has a vision for you, even if you're stressed about results you're gonna get, or if you're stressed about the college application process. And the second part of the hadith is that ما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك. So what's bad for you will not happen to you, even if it looks like it's the best thing in the world, if it's the one thing you're praying for. So my best advice would be to have thiqah, conviction. When you have conviction, and to stem off Dina's point, that you're not simply just trying to do what looks best. You're truly trying to do what is worthwhile and valuable to you. When you have this thiqah, you'll find that you're not trying to prove yourself to the colleges, even though that's technically the whole point. But rather, when you're proving yourself to yourself and you're truly doing something that if there was no money in the world, or even if it sacrifices all the worldly adornments, if it's truly purposeful to you, if you can find that thing and you build your whole identity. First, it's important to build your identity and then to build your application, because your application has no backbone if it's not backed up by your true identity. And part of that, which I think is really powerful in this group and 5 Before College, is that your identity should stem from your deen and your faith. And that's what makes you rooted in your principles and your conviction. And that's what will allow you to give to present yourself authentically, and in a way that showcases all of your best qualities and attributes. So I hope I hit on everything, but let me know if I missed something.
Oh, that was beautiful. I don't know if you mentioned do you mention that you're going to Harvard in the fall?
I might have.
Oh, you did. I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, you know, I know, mashallah, these guys are amazing, you know, and they did go to these brand name schools, and you know, in full transparency, having people who went to these schools is great. It fills up a webinar like this, right? But I want to say that I've been working with hundreds and hundreds of Muslim teenagers, and they don't all go to these types of schools, but they are all incredible human beings, right? The students, and I think Dina can attest to this, who I worked with at Al Noor, are just amazing people who inspire me every single day. Yes, inshallah, we specialize, we help people get into great colleges and all of that, and we want to help you get into your dream school. But ultimately, you know, true success is the success in the akhirah. True success, you know, we have to begin with the end in mind, as we're always reminded. And the true success is that when we leave this world, we have the kalima on our tongue. We've led a life that we're proud to present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and so on. And, you know, where we go to college is a footnote in our life, and it's not the only thing that matters. So sometimes, paradoxically, when you know, you don't see college as the end goal, you see it as a stepping stone for you to achieve your real dreams, then you become the sort of person that colleges want to be. Like I said, it's sort of like playing hard to get. Like I mean, you're not literally saying you need me, I don't need you, but you practically have that mentality because you're going places, you have a vision, and you really want the benefit of that college education to help you, right? When you look beyond the finish line, when you finish college, it's called commencement, right? That's the ceremony at the end. It's not called, and then commencement means the beginning, right? College is the beginning towards your, you know, adult life and your you know, the quote unquote real world. So, but the mistake that I see so many teenagers make, that, and I think you guys have all sort of alluded to this, is, you know, doing everything for the sake of college. Will this look good for college? That's the most common question I get asked. Will this look good for college? Right? And as I think they've said much more eloquently than I, when you do things for yourself, when you do things, what did Omar say? When you prove yourself to yourself, right? That looks good for college, right? When you find things that are authentically aligned with you. So inshallah, maybe in you know, the next section, when you see some excerpts from their essays and so on, you'll learn a little bit more specifics. But this big picture stuff is really important that you can get from this. A lot of people on a road mapping, it's not going to work, right? You need to find your own story and follow your own path. These are inspirations, right? They're not you know, something that you just copy and so on. So let me we're going to hear from them again very shortly, but I do, as I said, I want to take a chance to let you know about this boot camp that we're having. So screen sharing, okay? Alhamdulillah. All right, so Bismillah. So inshallah, we are running this college essay boot camp. And it's going to be held in the first 2 weeks of August. But really it's starting, you know, from now. We already have quite a few people who enrolled in it. Some of you may have been at our webinar. They're filling out something called a brag sheet. As soon as they fill that out, then we're going to start the matching process if they're at the and so yes, officially it doesn't start till August 4th, but really it starts as soon as you join the program. 5 years and 5 minutes, make them count. This is this idea that the admission, you spend 5 years leading these amazing lives. The admissions officers have about 5 to 10 minutes with your application in all of it. It's your essays, your transcripts, your recommendation letters. So you want to be able to really package that whole thing into something that's memorable, and that's what this whole process is all about. So the College Essay Bootcamp, what are some of the benefits? So inshallah, you're going to craft an application to your dream school that you are confident in and proud to submit, right? So the main goal here, this is not somewhere a bootcamp where you're writing all of your, if you're applying to 20 schools, you're going to be done with 20 schools. You're really choosing your top school, the school that you're probably applying early action or early decision to, like your top choice school, and you're going to inshallah get that entire application done, from the activity section to the personal statement to the supplements and anything else. And of course, you can also apply to a bunch of other schools, especially ones that don't require the supplements and whatnot. You're going to write essays and supplements that your admissions officers will rave about for years. Okay, alhamdulillah, this week I'm doing this training, amazing training with the Independent Educational Consultants Association, and most of the people there are either school counselors or college admissions officers, and essays that our students have written or that they read as an admissions officer. And I'm telling you, like Dina's pizza essay, which I think some of you heard last time, you know, is one that I've been talking about for years and years, and so many of these other ones. So you want to, we want you to be able to do the same thing. Learn to tell your unique story and make the most of this once in a lifetime opportunity to find out who you are. So there are not very many rites of passage left in our society. Applying to college is one of them. It's part of sort of becoming an adult. Of course, you don't have to go to college. There are lots of other paths towards success, but we're here in a college thing. So this is a rite of passage that people have. And just remember, Oscar Wilde said, no one can compete with you on being you, right? So and that's really what the advice is. So we need to figure out how to tell that story in the application in a way that really resonates. How you can grow into strong, dynamic young adults, grounded in your Muslim identity and ready to succeed in this world and the next. Alhamdulillah, you know, the Islamic component is a feature of this. Of course, people ask me, well, you don't work with non-Muslims? Of course I work with non-Muslims. You know, I was not born Muslim. I care so much about all of humanity. Messaging and marketing, it is a predominantly Muslim audience. But if you have friends or other people who you think could benefit from this, by all means, you know, learn as the foundation for what we're trying to do. And then finally, I think one feature of this bootcamp that I haven't seen in many other places is this exclusive one-on-one mentorship from one of these four. And I should stress, depending on how many people sign up, I have a very deep bench of other mentors who could easily be on this panel just as well. I just need to see, you know, each of great mentors, how that it's a privilege of doing the work that I do, come across so many amazing people. So these are people who share your same goals, your same values, and they've already walked this path and found a lot of success there. All right. what does it actually include? So it kicks off on the August 4th with a half-day brainstorming workshop that I will lead. I've been doing this in different forms for many, many years. And it's just a way of sort of shaking the tree and getting a ton of ideas out on paper. Okay, by the end of that, you'll have hopefully, 15, 20 or more ideas that really you can develop with your mentor or on your own as you're going through the rest of the course. You're going to also get some expert trainings led by these mentors. So each of these mentors that we're meeting today will be teaching a 1-hour training on something that they specialize in, and they'll talk about that a little bit more. And they're going to be they're going to be live trainings. Of course, everything's recorded, so while it's great to be there live to be able to ask your questions, you can also get the recordings. But they're, each of them is going to talk on a particular specialty. So the activities list, which is actually surprisingly tricky. Scholarships, we have a few of them who are amazing in getting scholarships. The UCPIQs, and so on. We'll talk about our college essay framework. If you were at the last webinar, I spent about an hour and a half breaking down the college essay. Very, very valuable stuff that you could charge a lot of money just for that webinar. But we'll break that down. Then there will be drop-in hours throughout the course, drop-in office hours, which I will be at, and a member of these, one of these mentors will be there as well. And so that will be essentially a chance for you to come and ask your questions, bring any issues that you have, and so you have access to us at regular times. Access to a huge vault of successful college essays that will give you access to. And then we'll also have a private WhatsApp community where each of the mentors will be in there, I'll be in there, and so it's a place, as much as anything, it's more fun to do things as a group, right? It's more fun to do things with other people who are doing the same thing. It is called a boot camp. There is work involved. It's not something that's just going to happen magically, but it's a lot more fun to go through a boot camp with other people who share your values and share your desires. And then the premium tier, they get the 7 hours of one-on-one coaching with one of you guys, with one of our all-star college mentors. So that's the big difference between the tiers. In terms of the cost, I'm sure that's what you want to ask. Notice how I don't call it a cost. It's an investment, right? You always have to keep in mind with anything in life, but especially something like this. Apply college. The college fees will be one of the biggest expenses that you're going to face, and we will do a session on affordability and financial aid and so on. As well, and the scholarship session will also touch on that sort of thing. But this, while these prices, it does represent an investment. If you think about the return on the investment, if you're able to, get into your top choice school and what that does to your lifetime, earning power and all those sorts of things. If you spend this kind of money and then you unlock a $40,000 a year scholarship, so essentially, you're getting, $150,000, $160,000 over the course of 4 years, then it really pales in comparison. That said, because you guys are attending this webinar and so on, we do want to give you a discount, right? So in honor of our mentors, these all-stars, we created an all-star discount. So essentially, the numbers didn't work out that it's not so pretty, but essentially it's $150 off the premium one. So that brings it down to $1347, and it's $75 off the essential one, which brings it to the fairly random number of $722. In order to get these, when you check out, you have to, sorry, I was just trying to get the, let me just put this in the chat. So you can click on it. Sorry. How do I get back to this? Here we go. Let me just put that in the chat to everyone. And then if Ruhina or someone can keep putting that as time goes by. So that is the discount that you get for this. But there's one other thing, one last thing that I want to mention, and then we're going to get back to the mentors. This is really just for you guys who are live attendees. Okay, if you buy the premium tier, right, so that one with the one-on-one mentorship, we're going to add something that I'm only going to do until the end of this webinar, which is 2 meetings with me. The first meeting is early on in the course, where you're going to meet with me for an early application strategy session, right? Because that decision of where to apply based on your profile is a huge decision. You really want expert advice on something like that, and it's something that people pay private consultants lots and lots of money to get that kind of advice. Obviously, I don't know everything about you, but I will do my best to learn about you, read your brag sheet, and then at the end of the webinar, at the end of the boot camp, we'll do this 360-degree application review also with me. So it's sort of like an outtake meeting. You will have crafted your great college application, and then you're going to present it to me. I'm going to read through it as if I were a college admissions officer and give you feedback as a college admissions officer. And those really, one question has been teaching one-to-many. However, if you want the one-to-one attention, this is the time to do it. This is for people who buy it during the webinar. It's hard to put a value on this. It's definitely over $1,000. I'm in this independent educational consultant. On average, the average cost. Actually, I'd be interested in the chat. What do you think the average amount that people is interesting to me? How much do you think that people spend to work with a counselor who works with a one-on-one to develop a college list in the package deals? Let's see if there are any good guesses here. Oh, the lag is bad. That's not good. Can people not hear me? Do you not hear me?
I can hear you on my end, but I know with depending on where
How much it costs to work.
I can hear you, but I just lose part of the sentence or half of it. But I'm following generally.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. That's really too bad. I'm at my mom's place and the internet's it's in Maine. The internet is not great. Okay. Okay, people say it's breaking out. Okay, I'll move on. So essentially that is that. Here's the QR here, all that. These are the codes. I'll put them in the chat as well. And I'm going to go back into the rest of the webinar, especially because you can't seem to hear me as well. So, Bismillah. Let me go back to this. So in this section, I asked the students to share a portion of one of their supplements or their personal statement. And so I'm just going to have them read those. And then we'll go from there. And yeah, so if you don't mind starting us off, Hikmat, I decided we do your personal statement, if that's okay.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Okay, Bismillah. A red line. That's all it took to undermine my identity. I was in the school computer lab learning to use Microsoft Word. The task was to type your first and last name in the document space. Hikma Oladejo. A simple, beautiful arrangement of 13 letters that completely defined me. So why was my identity tainted with the presence of a red line? I erased. Typed it again, slower this time. Red line. One last time, aggressively pecking at the individual keys, causing an echoing cacophony of clicks and clacks, but just like before, the same red line appeared. Uncalled for, unwanted, and unwilling to leave. On that day, I saw undeniable proof that Hikmah Oladejo was an error. When I speak my name, it comes out in a single satisfying breath, as if I've been inhaling endlessly, slowly suffocating until finally I exhale and all my tension ceases to exist. However, rolling off the tongues of others, it's rushed, briefly acknowledged and unable to linger between us. Eventually, I stopped correcting them. I continued on like this for 10 years. 10 restless years spent dreading introductions and first encounters that left me paralyzed and struggling to answer the most fundamental question. Who are you? Unable to answer on my own, I inevitably held on to other people's perceptions of me and used it to define myself. In their minds, I am too loud in both voice and personality, a deafening, chaotic mixture of boisterous attitude and ceaseless enthusiasm. I am an insert anything here, an overanalyzer, an overthinker, an overachiever with an overcomplicated name. Nothing I do is ever done just right. I am too much. That's what I am told. This phrase shuts and shocks my mind into an intense contemplative silence where I'm not only confused, but also terrified. Terrified that too much is a synonym for wrong. The magnitude of my voice is wrong. The way I think is wrong. My excitement is wrong. Every fraction and fragment that defines me, even down to my name, is wrong. I am a collection of red lines waiting to be erased. My freshman year began with the intention that I would be quieter, less noticeable, and easily forgotten. I would be and speak the bare minimum, so no part of me could be labeled an unwanted excess. However, my plan failed before it could be put into action. The culprit to blame was my father. As my dad and I endured freshman orientation, he watched in amused horror as I assimilated my name for the sake of ease and the appeasement of others. Rather than being angry with me, he chose to remind me that the same breath that I used to butcher my name also butchers its meaning, leaving behind a mutilated version of who I fully am. Additionally, he reminded me of the beauty behind my name, wisdom and greatness to the highest degree. His words were soft yet deafening as they shocked me into a sense of clarity and radical self-acceptance, forcing me to see and redefine who I am. I am loud. My voice is my megaphone, an amplification of all my varying emotions and endless thoughts. It deserves to be heard. I deserve to be heard. I am a thinker. Between every problem and its corresponding solution is a wide expanse of limitless possibility where curiosity is infinite and everything seems achievable. It is in this breadth of space that I find solace. And so when I think, I take my time, because the quicker I reach a solution, the less time there is to be limitless in infinity. I am Hikmah Oladejo, learning to find comfort in being noticeable and to accept the joys of being unforgettable. I am determined to embody the name my father gave me.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, it's okay right now. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so someone in the chat, Diwan, mentioned I already have goosebumps. She said that within the first paragraph, and I feel the same thing. Same thing that happened to me the first time you read this to me. And the goosebump test is like one of the best tests to find out whether you have finished your college essay, whether you have it in good form. When the reader gets goosebumps, you know you did something right, right? It takes a lot of bravery for Hikmah to share her essay with a big group like this. And if you write an essay that shows your vulnerability, that shows who you are, it should be something hard to do in public because you've dug deep. I think you guys can all see how much craft and expertise and went into that essay, mashallah. And again, just imagine like having her in your corner. I want to stress these mentors do not write your essays for you. That is not what college counseling is all about, right? They are there to help you develop your ideas, walk you through, give you feedback. You guys have to be you're doing the work, but having someone who really knows the process and can direct you in the right way, that's incredibly valuable, alhamdulillah. All right, I'm gonna jump down to Omar. So that was a personal statement, and we talked about this last time. That's the 650-word main college essay that you said. The other ones that we're going to see are supplements, which are college-specific essays. Bismillah. So for Omar, have you?
Okay, Bismillah. Fair warning, this is the prompt wanted something like, I don't know, I felt like it wanted something about like more academic, so it's more of like a specific academic thing. So let's compare the SAT score of groundhogs. This sentence felt like comparing apples to algebra, but it was actually the most normal thought experiment that Professor Marsh had posed to us all week at the Harvard Summer School program. Apparently, the question was a satirical metaphor for something else that also didn't make sense: imperialist Western feminism. Professor Marsh compared the groundhog example to former UC Berkeley anthropology professor Saba Mahmood's argument that Western thinkers must reconsider labeling the hijab as a tool of oppression, because there's no way, according to the Western lens, to determine what's best for a pious Muslim woman amidst Eastern cultural values. Professor Marsh argued that our Orientalist bias made us unequipped to answer this question, just as unequipped to answer this question as the groundhog one. From scooping rice and meat with my hands in Kuwait to learning that people in Kuwait kiss each other's chins, in Dubai kiss each other's chins as a form of respect, and to full body veils, I've experienced my fair share of specific traditions. But taking global political thought prompted me to reconsider how different my own traditions would seem if I lived in the Middle East. And the course encouraged me and urged me to embrace the epistemic humility necessary to expose myself to new ideas. I cannot wait to take more stimulating courses in college.
MashaAllah. Excellent. So I think one of the reasons that it's great to work with a Muslim mentor is one of the common questions I get is like, how much is can we put in our essays? Absolutely, it's possible to do it, but it does take, there's an art to doing it. And mashallah, Omar does a great job here. He's actually taking on what could be sort of somewhat of a hot button subject with the hijab and talking about it in a very sophisticated way that shows, his understanding, shows his willing to sort of tackle an intellectual problem. Like he said, this is a supplement. Right. This is something more specific. How many of these are there, Omar? Are there 5 on the Harvard?
Specifically for Harvard, yeah. It changes year by year, but I remember filling out 5 main ones.
Yeah. Well, so actually, the 5 was a new thing last year after the Supreme Court affirmative action decision came. A lot of colleges switched up their supplements for the first time in years, and Harvard switched to this plan of doing 5. They used to have, I think, just 1 or 2 longer ones, and now they have 5 shorter ones, closer to what Stanford's been doing for a long time, and so on. So alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. This is Dina's pizza supplement. We read that last time. Ali, did you have something you wanted to share? I wasn't sure about that.
Sorry, yeah. I have a couple of supplements. My personal statement is a little too personal. Maybe I would save that for the mentorship.
Okay.
Maybe I could share a supplement.
All right, why don't you get ready to do that? I'm gonna let Dina choose one of her MIT supplements, and I'll let you share your screen when we get to that, Adi. So Dina, I know we did this mini course before where you talked about your MIT supplements. So I'd love for you to just sort of, this was the reason this was formatted a little more nicely is a sort of lead magnet thing that we can get. So that's your personal statement, but let's jump down to some of your supplements.
But these, I think the last time that we did something like this, I learned that the versions that you have here are wrong, and like one of them is like crucially wrong in a way that like ruins the best part.
Okay, so let's not read that one. Let's read one of the ones that is okay.
But that's my favorite one. Like I would want to read the correct version of that one.
This one?
No. No, that one's fine.
Well, okay, this is short enough. Why don't you just read this one and then we'll keep going.
Okay, there are some of these that like as I've aged, like I still like, and some that I don't still like. There's one that I still really like, and that's the one that is
Okay, our students are 18, they're not 25 or whatever you are now, so it's okay.
I'm 23. But anyway, okay, yeah, I'll just read this one. So the prompt is we know you eat
23, sorry.
Oh, I think there was a lag. But I'll start again. Okay. We know you lead a busy life, full of activities, many of which are required of you. Please tell us about something you do for the pleasure of it. 100 words or fewer. So I really like to write poetry, and so I wrote a poem. These years are difficult, they're burdensome and tough. Every day I'm told that I'll never be enough, by my peers, by my friends, by my foes, and by myself. But one day my burdens may fill your home shelf. When faced with difficulties that prose can't explain, I must remind myself that all is not in vain. So I put things on pause and take a bit of time to understand my pain and put it in a rhyme. I write poems because it's one thing to be smart, but true character comes from the words in your heart.
MashaAllah. Written way before the era of ChatGPT, alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, it's beautiful. This one I think is really, really creative, especially given what you were applying for. Can you just, maybe we don't need to read this one because it might not read as well, but can you explain what you did here?
Yeah, so keeping in the theme of like showing what I'm interested in rather than just like talking about it. This is like a very simple code in Java, which was like my first language, and the language I was most proficient in at the time of writing this, that just prints out the stuff that's in the quotes. So from like when I was little until the hot chocolate at the end. And so it's just demonstrating that like I enjoy coding and that I have like very basic proficiency in coding by being functional code that shows the rest of the real essay.
Right. And the actual words that she had are pretty cool too. When I was little, I used to play in the snow until I could no longer take the cold. When I got back inside, there would always be hot chocolate. Its warmth effortlessly filled my core, erasing the cold. When I got older, I learned to program. I wrote lines of faulty code until I could no longer take the messiness. And when I finally fixed the mistakes, there would always be something. It felt like warmth, relief, and accomplishment. It felt like hot chocolate. MashaAllah. Not bad. MashaAllah.
Thank you.
Which one do you have time to do? Whichever one. Is this the one you liked a lot? I like this one.
Yeah, that's the one I like, but the line at the end that's like the special line is wrong.
Okay.
But I can say the real one. Okay. Tell us about the most significant challenge you faced or something important that didn't go according to plan. How did you manage the situation? When I discovered lying, everything changed. Let me revise that statement. When I discovered fiction writing, everything changed. For the first few years of my literary journey, my pieces reeked of "This weekend I" and "Tomorrow I will." I wrote about food, homework, and people that actually existed. My stories weren't always happy. Sometimes the other characters laughed at the way I chased knowledge, had a stutter, and was taller than the boys. I craved a more beautiful life to write about. This all changed when I found out I could lie. My stories started to become less like a record of events and more like a creation kit. I wrote worlds that were kind when the real world was cruel. In my stories, I cured diseases, ruled nations, and saved lives. This skill eventually transcended from writing to programming. I wrote games and algorithms that played them better than I. I wrote lines of code that were better at math than I was and sorted numbers much faster. I also wrote for others. When my friends felt alone, I wrote them hands to hold. When they got sucked into holes of stress and darkness, I wrote them ladders to climb out. I wrote them ladders to climb back out into the light. I spent years gathering words, consuming them in copious amounts, and trying to make something of them. I've used words to bring characters to life, summon tears from audience members, and strike empathy into unknowing hearts. But I cannot write myself an acceptance letter. Not a degree, but I cannot write myself an acceptance letter.
Okay, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Mashallah. I had the privilege of being Dina's English teacher for 3 years, so you can imagine how lucky I was to read her regular writing. But yeah, she really pulled out all the stops on her supplements and so on. And you know, if you think about it, I know some of you, something like 20% are from Islamic schools. You know, the school where we taught is not, you know, it is not a fancy place. It has a, you know, shoestring budget that, you know, it's just sort of getting by. I think the public schools in our town get almost twice the funding that we get per student. We don't have tons of extracurriculars, you know, and so on. And yet, alhamdulillah, not just Dina, but year after year, the kids were getting into great colleges. Because again, you're not being compared, you're not expected, if you go to a school that doesn't have APs or doesn't have dual enrollment or something, you're not expected to like do those specific things. You're supposed to make the most of what you have, but most importantly, you're supposed to be able to tell your story in a way that really resonates with the audience, that captures the essence of who you are. And I think you've just seen different examples of different students doing it very different ways. So I don't want any of you to go out and write a hot chocolate essay or write a program, or I mean, you could potentially do a poem, but definitely do a poem of your own style, right? But the point is, like, all of these students that we've seen so far have figured out a way to showcase who they are in a way that's very authentic to them, that showcase their interests. It's really beautiful at the end, but it takes a lot of hard work and whatnot to get to this point. Okay, Ali, were you ready to share something?
Yeah, I can go ahead and share my screen. So I'll be sharing one of my diversity supplements for Rice. Just a little context before I get into it. I think the way that I went about the college application process, not to give too much away, but I kind of varied the way I wrote my essays per essay. So for example, my personal statement was more sentimental, and I really went into the vulnerabilities, and it was more of an emotional one. And then I think for Rice, my Y major was super tangible. I talked about, very specific reasons. But the one I'm about to present is more about my religion, and it's more about a journey that I had with Islam and entrepreneurship. So I'll go ahead and get started.
Could you just zoom in a bit?
Sorry, yeah. All right. I found myself torn at Guthrie Academy, where amidst an Islamic environment associating wealth with sin and impurity, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. This dilemma between passion and religion persisted, following me to an incredibly diverse school in Dallas, Texas. From Iraqi weddings to Ethiopian Super Bowl parties, my school friends introduced me to a world beyond our classrooms. I quickly enrolled in AP World History to continue thriving in this confluence of cultures. For my first few classes, I fixated on the dazzling days of the Islamic Golden Age, where I noticed the recurring theme. Major cities under Islamic rule were thriving centers of commerce. Merchants converted en masse because Islam legitimized their economic base. Muslims controlled the western half of the Silk Road, the most important land trade route. A few page turns were all it took to crumble my childhood misconceptions. I learned that in Islam, it was never wealth itself that was frowned upon, but rather how it's used and accumulated. I continued reading and found figures like Mansa Musa and John D. Rockefeller who embodied this understanding of wealth. Although they differed in era and nationality, religion guided how the Mali emperor and the American business magnate dedicated their fortunes. Musa, renowned for his vast riches across the Arabian world, raised countless mosques and schools in the African continent. Similarly, Rockefeller, a devout Baptist, considered the wealthiest American of all time, generously established schools, churches, and hospitals. Inspired, I rallied my friends to start Refuge Reach and promote educational philanthropy, reconciling my faith with my reinvigorated entrepreneurial spirit. We converted an old school closet into our storage hub, into our storage hub, collecting spare textbooks from teachers. Our efforts soon expanded to local colleges and places of worship, mosques, churches, and temples, where we organized book drives. The initiative then took a significant leap forward after partnering with Amazon booksellers from Raindrop, a Turkish cultural center. This collaboration between a blend of cultures and beliefs significantly supported nearby educational institutions and refugee neighborhoods. My intersectional identity is shaped by these distinct religious, historical, and entrepreneurial insights. At Rice, I plan to contribute this multifaceted viewpoint. I've experienced firsthand how ancient principles can inform modern entrepreneurial practices, creating sustainable and ethical business models. This approach has not just been a theoretical exercise, but a lived reality, influencing how I engage with these diverse communities and address complex problems. In discussions, whether in classrooms or informal campus settings, I look forward to sharing these practical applications of historical wisdom in contemporary settings, offering grounded yet innovative perspectives. Tracing its origins to William Marsh Rice, a businessman who dedicated his estate to establishing Rice University, this institution stands as the ideal place for my mission, using impactful entrepreneurship to fuel educational philanthropy. Thank you.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Amazing. SubhanAllah, it says my connection's unstable. Can you not hear me now?
I can hear you.
I think you're frozen.
You can hear me?
again.
You were talking about frozen. Still frozen? I don't know.
You're frozen, but I think we
yes,
can hear
no?
you.
You can hear me, huh? Yeah. Okay. I'll go back to this. Okay. If you guys can hear me, as I said, these guys are some of the core mentors that we'll have, and each of them is going to be teaching, something that they really specialize in. So I wanted to give them a chance to sort of give a preview, and I want to stress this is available for everyone. Essential members and premium members can all attend these live trainings, and so on. Get the teaching from them, and then be able to ask follow-up questions. So Dina, are you able to talk now? Okay.
Yeah. I just like turn my camera off because I think like your audio will be better if you're not like loading our videos when we're not talking.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, I've been here the whole time, don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. So I really believe that a person can accomplish so many things, and if they're not able to effectively communicate them, and if they don't know their audience, then it can really disadvantage them and they may not be able to put their best foot forward. And so to me, a really, really important aspect of writing your college application is knowing your audience and knowing that your audience does not have a lot of time. So like Brother Hamza mentioned earlier, they're looking at your entire application, including your classes, grades, SAT scores, in only a few minutes. And so my focus is on really short forms of writing, in particular, the activities descriptions, where you have, for most schools, only 150 characters, not words, characters, to describe each of the activities that you did. And then your supplement essays, which typically vary between 100 and like 300 to max 500 words, to talk about a very important aspect of your life. So I'm going to be having special sessions on those, and I really hope that everyone who signs up for the class can attend them, because I think learning how to really concisely communicate is super important, which is also why I'll stop talking now.
Dina actually taught a whole 5-week class on writing supplements. Supplements especially come up, just to give you a little sneak preview, at the regular decision deadline. Because right now when you're applying early, really you're probably zeroing in on one particular school. How that process goes, there's a very good chance that you'll be applying to a large list of schools at the regular deadline. So some people are applying to 15 or even I can't remember, but I was scrolling through and you had like 60 pages of essays that guy had written. Clearly, when you're applying to a lot of schools and a lot of different scholarships and so on, you end up having to do a lot of writing. And so Dina taught a whole course on that. I'll let Ali talk. Maybe you can answer that question about, was it Jonathan? I don't know who that guy was.
Yeah, it was Jonathan. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, yeah, I reached out to a lot of, I mentioned this before when I was introducing myself. So I reached out to genuinely maybe 50 different students, right, from Stanford, Harvard, Cornell. And I kind of compiled all of those essays that I received from them from all of their acceptances, and I put it into that document. So when I gave it to Hamza, it was actually, I believe, 120, 150. It should be around 175 right now. I added some more as well that I found. So yeah, it was not just actually students, but there were some ex-Stanford admissions officers I also talked to, and a lot of different college counselors and all these sorts of people. So I think a lot of the specialty, I know I didn't present it, but it is because it is like super personal, but I do think some of my specialty is in the personal statement. A lot of the essay notes that you'll see in that guide that I provided Hamza with are on the personal statement. And something I take a lot of pride in as well is the activity section. I think in general, I think self-branding is very important. You'll see me, those days of LinkedIn grinding have translated onto the activity section as well. Knowing how to self-brand on your EC list and how to really optimize for impact and put those numbers on there and make sure the admissions office knows that you have a tangible impact in every single one of your ECs. And as you can see on the screen as well, I think a lot of my specialty does go to the UC PIQs, which is the personal interest questions for the UC system, the University of California system, as well as the scholarship writing and scholarship writing in general. I received the Generation Google Scholarship, and I was one of 20 out of 40,000 applicants for the Foot Locker Scholarship athlete program. So I was one of 20 out of 40,000. I was also a Coca-Cola Scholar finalist, which was 250 out of 103,000 applicants. I didn't make it to the final stage, but I worked with Coca-Cola Scholarship, the program, right after to get that feedback on, why didn't things work out? And I have that information where I personally have not seen anywhere else on why or how to make that final round of the Coca-Cola Scholarship Program, which is the most competitive scholarship program in the US. And then I did see some comments talking about some Texas-based schools like Rice and UT Austin. I'm actually going to UT Austin for computer science. So, Texas-based schools, I'll be able to help out with that as well.
Right. And so, yeah, part of our intake process, you guys will fill in a brag sheet, which you may have done something like that, and you can certainly use some of your answers for your school, where you talk about yourself, where you're applying, we get a sense of who you are, and then we look at our mentor list and so on, and where the specialties overlap in terms of what you're studying and so on. Like, a lot of people are asking me about the PIQs there. We have a big contingent from California. Ali is a specialist in that, and inshallah we have some other people potentially who have that type of experience. So everyone has a different expertise. Some people are more on the STEM side of things. Some people are more on the humanities side of things. We have people with lots of different backgrounds. Omar, you want to talk about some of your specialties?
Yes, of course, inshallah. So I took some notes just like Dina said, just to be concise and structured in my answer. So the main element that you can see listed here, there's a few I'll bring up, but is storytelling. So it just so happened that the essay that I chose to share was very more structured. Like I mentioned, it was very academic. But my personal statement, it felt really personal to me, and it felt the end result I was very proud of, because I took more of a storytelling approach, and I know that but there's many ways you can approach it, some of the personal statements that you've seen told an amazing story, and so that is what I want to start focusing on. But at the same time, all the essays that you write have to follow a certain structure, and there are very specific things you want to hit on. For example, if you notice from the examples that you've seen so far from me and the other mentors, is that at some point you want to tie something back into, especially in the supplements, something back into like, I took this course, I want to take more in college, or like with, like, for example, if you're saying my identity, like these aspects of my identity are very important to me, and it took me a lot to find them. Like you wanna tie it back into how that's giving you purpose, and how you're gonna extend that purpose as a student. Because so this leads into the supplements point, because when people are reading, when admission officers are reading your supplements, they're reading it, like Brother Hamza said, for a very, very short amount of time. And that's scary because this application that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into, like when they look at it, they're gonna read it, but they're also checking a lot of boxes. Like, can I envision this student on campus? What's he gonna do? What's she gonna be involved in? How is she gonna lead? How is she gonna stay true to herself? There are many elements that even if you're telling a story, you have to follow a very specific structure. So this is the first point. Second thing is that I, alhamdulillah, got in early. And so this saved me from having to submit many more applications. But over the summer, 1 year ago today, I was in this exact spot and I wrote all my applications. I was planning on applying to 20 different schools. So, and I wrote everything. And so I had going back to the point of structure, I had a very, very tried and true method that allowed me to pour my heart out onto the page in a very structured and focused way. So that is something, inshallah, I'd like to share. Another thing is I want to think with you very deliberately on your narrative. So five before college, like Brother Hamza said, it means 5 years of preparation. So in these 5 years, what is your story? How does every specific element tie into it? Like, this is something I'm sure Dina will cover when she discusses like the activities list in your supplements. Everything's connected and everything should come together to present you as a well-rounded, competitive applicant. And then the last thing also, this is like a side note, but I saw a question about SAT and ACT. So this is another thing that I'm involved in that I picked up on the side. I have like a SAT tutoring business. So I'm definitely like, that's something we can talk about. And I would be happy to like share tips on that, especially because like, even though a lot of schools became test optional, a lot are going back. And so it's just another way to, obviously in a more structured way, but it's another way to make yourself stand out. And so I hope I got to everything. Thank you.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. I think, I do want to stress the SAT prep that he's talking about is something, mashallah, he's an entrepreneur. He has his own business, and I would love for you to work with him. Mashallah, he has not just himself, but he has an amazing team. He's showed his business plan to me. It's very, very tight. I love seeing these entrepreneurs within our community. That there is not an SAT prep component to this. Inshallah, if you're submitting your SAT. So for all the underclassmen, please try your best to have your SAT and all your test scores done by the end of your junior spring at the very, very latest. Not to say that it's impossible to take the SAT now, but most likely you might not be applying early at that point. It suggests that you're not a 5 before college type who's starting early, or you're sort of left things the last second. So the real time to prep for the SAT is 10th and 11th grade, and really try to be done with it by the end of 11th grade. That said, I don't want to freak anyone out. They're still going to take it. They're coming up in August. Should be apply early with that. For the people who haven't gotten there yet, inshallah, try to apply early. Hikmat, your specialties.
So my specialty, I feel like can be broken
Hikmat?
into. Yes. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, perfect. My specialty can essentially be broken down into 3 main topics, which is overcoming writer's block, brainstorming, and then, being your authentic self. For me, the biggest part was my biggest challenge, which was overcoming writer's block, because I am a bit of a procrastinator. And what also kind of made this worse is that I'm also a perfectionist. So I'm, like I think I touched on this before, but I'm sitting down in front of my laptop, or sometimes I get like a pen and paper, and I genuinely have no idea what to write, because I am trying to make sure that every single word that I say is the most perfect thing and just the most awesome word that you've ever heard in your entire life. And the problem with that is that's just not possible. That's not going to happen. And at times what it left me in the situation where I had nothing written down and I really wasn't moving anything. I wasn't moving forward because I was so focused on being perfect. And so I essentially gave myself writer's block that I ended up having to overcome. The second thing kind of ties in with the third, which is brainstorming and authenticity. Throughout this college process, I got a lot of advice from different sides, from different people. And the unfortunate thing with that is many of them did not advocate for me to be my authentic self throughout. And I hope I can share this with, with more people as we go through these sessions together. But I have basically like a rough draft of all the different essays that I was going to write that I didn't end up writing. And my favorite thing is to look back at them. And it's so interesting because they don't really sound like me. They're not authentic to who I am. They sound like whoever gave me the advice to say, present yourself in this way or present yourself in that way. So I think one of the biggest things throughout this process is figure out who you are. And as you're brainstorming these ideas, kind of like look inward and like, just ask yourself, who am I? Because who you are is going to be what shows up on this paper. Who you are is going to be what this complete stranger is going to read. And it's your responsibility to make sure that when you look back, no matter how this college process ends up going, no matter where this, the successes, the acceptances come from, where the rejections come from, I knew that I wanted to be able to look back and say, I wrote an essay that was as authentic and as true to who I was as possible, to make sure that when I look back, I had no regrets. There was no way that I was going to look back and say, oh, I wish I did this, or I wish I wrote that. No matter how everything worked out, I knew I was going to be happy and content because I stayed authentic to who I was throughout everything. So that's what I hope to help you guys with throughout this process, inshallah.
MashaAllah. And mashallah, I'm jealous of you guys who just got to go through this process. I myself, I used to teach writing the college essay for a long time, but back in 2022, I challenged myself to write some of my own. So I actually did a 1-month writing challenge where I wrote 30 college essays in 30 days, because I always would tell kids that they weren't really that big a deal. They're all over the place. So I had to like walk the talk. So if you'd like, I've never actually offered this before as a bonus, but this is the sort of written form, the galley proof of the actual text that's going to be printed on Amazon eventually and other places. But I'm offering that as a special webinar download. Shall maybe someone can put it in the chat. Actually, I can put it in the chat. Just 1 second. Chat. Put this back in the chat. All right. So there's a lot there. You can learn a lot about my life, and they're not much. Your college essays that you guys just read are really amazing. So alhamdulillah. Okay. If you can, are people able to hear me? Yes, it's good right now, the sound quality. All right. I'm a little stressed out about that. So just to do one last recap of everything that's included in the College Essay Bootcamp, and I'll try to make this fast so you can get some questions in. Half-day live brainstorming workshop. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through a series of 5 exercises. You're going to get all sorts of ideas for supplements, your scholarships, blog posts, and then you're also going to write your first zero draft. That's something that I talked about last time. It's before a rough draft. It's a way to overcome procrastination and overcome perfectionism, is to get these zero drafts done. So that's something that I will teach to kick off the whole thing. You're going to get the college essay framework. I talked about that before, which focuses on topic. So we'll take you from a shallow topic to an insightful one. The process, what Omar was just talking about, of how to go about writing these things and how to break it all down from chaotic to systematic, and the structure, right, of the actual writing and the quality from rambling to really focused. The vault of college essays that worked. So these are things like Ali. I've been collecting these and over the years, and I will give you access to that, including many of the other things. And I think one difference between this and other things like this that other counselors might have is many of the essays do showcase Islam in them. We have the private community. I think that's a really thing you don't want to overlook, like being able to get really high quality advice, share a sentence, share something you're struggling with, bounce ideas off of everyone. And again, that's open to whether you're essential or you're premium, you get that access to us. Then the daily office hours and questions for workshopping. I mean, for Qs and workshopping. I think that's another huge value, right? That even, again, you're not doing this all alone. The problem with college essays is most people, like Hikmat was alluding to, wait until the last second. They need that deadline pressure to finally perform. So on Halloween, October 31st, the day before the deadline, they're like, freaking out. Right? And that's just the way that a lot of people are. It's okay to be that way, right? But what we're trying to do is create an artificial deadline for you. Okay, by August 17th or 18th or whatever 2 weeks is after August 4th, that's the deadline that you're working towards, right? And that deadline is way before the real deadline, but you're going to have that social pressure and everything, to get your essays done. And in fact, that's one of our guarantees, that if you're a premium member and you do all the different assignments, you fulfill our curriculum and you do what you've done, then you will have a complete polished essay by the time you finish, or we'll keep working with you for free. Okay, I do want to stress that you need to do your work. It's not like that it's just magically going to happen. But if you do your work, then you're going to be in a place where you're happy with it, or we keep working with you for free. Then the premium only, this is the 7 or more hours of the one-on-one application coaching, right? So this can start as early as this weekend when we pair you with one of these. And like I said, there may be other mentors, again, depending on how many people we have, in the class. And we hope that we'll have more after today's event. And then this the early intake meeting, and then the 360 application review. Those are things that, not only are they premium only, they're webinar only. So these are things that you do need to act fast. And I want to tell you, that's not just a sales technique for me. Like, I'm pretty overwhelmed right now. I'm teaching the Find Your Qibla class with 19 students who are moving through. They all have one-on-one meetings. I'm running this boot camp in this particular format for the first time, hiring all the mentors. My time is like extremely tight and extremely valuable. So even offering this is hard for me, but I know what a value it is. And that's why I did it. But that's why I'm capping it after tonight. It's not just, for me to try to, sell a lot. It's because my time is just precious. But at the same time, you guys have spent an hour and a half with us. So I want to give you that opportunity. When you add that whole thing together, 650, 500, 300, 1,000, 500, 1,500, can't see, and so on, then it comes out to the number of $5,700. Of course, we are not selling this for $5,700. That would not be right. So instead, as I revealed before, this is the actual price, right? It's for the premium, the $1,497 minus the $150 discount. Again, the discount codes are all here. Everything is here. Inshallah, we can put it in the chat. You also have the thing. I know we said we'd finish after 90 minutes. So it has been 90 minutes. However, we did not get to the Q&A yet. So obviously, those of you who budgeted 90 minutes, please, it's okay to go. I want to give people let's see, what time is it? 9:05. So let's go till 9:20 if the mentors are okay with that. So 15 minutes where we're going to try to answer the questions that are in the Q&A, some of the most impactful questions. I know we're not going to get to everyone. I apologize for that, mashallah. It's just too big a group for that. So let me stop sharing and get over to the Q&A. If someone can post the link to the class, then that would be really helpful. All right. So here we have the Q&A. I don't know if the mentors have had a chance to look at these. If it's hard for me to read everything. So if you go through there and you see a question that you think it's right in your wheelhouse to answer, please go for it. Anything about the boot camp itself, I can answer. But is the college essay boot camp open to all, regardless of age or grade? Okay, good question. It's primarily designed for rising seniors. We have had rising juniors take our classes in the past who wanted to get a head start, who are planning to apply to a bunch of competitive scholarships, wanted to work on those sorts of things. Definitely, it is geared towards seniors who are applying early, but other people could potentially do it. What are Hikmat's AP courses, college credits, and what were her AP scores for them? I don't know how much this kind of detail we're going to get into. Anything you want to say about that, Hikmat?
So I mean, in regards to my APs, by that point, I think I had taken seminar, chem, US history, world history, and human geography. And I had gotten 5s in all of them other than AP seminar. However, one thing I will point out is I myself am always very hesitant when it comes to like listing out stats, because I fell into the trap of thinking of just basically comparing myself and thinking, well, my stats don't look exactly like this person's. What are my shots of this nature? I really had to realize that they're not looking for carbon copies. They're going to find a lot of kids that have similar stats, that have really, really great SAT scores, that have really, really great AP scores. You really have to differentiate yourself, and you have to understand that you are more than just that number or that grade that you get. And so that's why for me, it was my essays that I immersed myself in, because that's where I could show my personality. An AP score does not show your personality. An SAT score does not show how great of a student you are in terms of how committed you are to, overcome challenges. You really have to write about these things. So, I understand wanting to, know stats and things like that, but I also think it's important to not get caught up in thinking that you have to compare yourself to other people's stats.
Excellent. Beautiful answer. Couldn't have said it better myself. Are the notes available for purchase? Ali, that's a question for you.
Inshallah, yes, they are. I think I still have to speak to Hamza about how we'll distribute that and whatnot and how he wants to do it on his end. But yeah, they're available for purchase.
Inshallah, I'm going to try to work something out with Ali to get some access to it for the people who are in the webinar. We'll have to have a little business discussion about that. But for those people who aren't doing the webinar, is the best thing for them to reach out directly to you, Ali? Or do you have a website, or what's the best
Or
way?
yeah, I mean, I know you remember like the way I was sending out this essay. There was no landing page, there was no website, no flyer. It was just, here's my LinkedIn, here's what I've done, but here's also this essay guide. But maybe I could give out my number and then you could contact me on WhatsApp. That's
Okay.
fine.
If any, yeah, most people have my contact. You can always reach out to me. Just respond to the emails that you get when you register, and you're on my email list, and lots of ways to be in touch with me. Do you help with deciding which schools to apply to as well as applications, Rising Junior? That's a great question. That is not the purpose of this particular class, but absolutely that's something that we as college consultants do. We have a variety of different services here. I work a lot with underclassmen on a program called Find Your Qibla, which is about helping them discover who they are and develop a sort of vision for their akhirah and for their dunya, and then also launch a passion project that they're going to continue doing throughout their high school years. That's one of the things that I really love, helping people get in touch with their Islamic values. The college counseling and stuff is definitely something that we offer. One thing that we do a little differently than other consultants is we try to do a fair amount of group coaching, right? Where I think you can see the power of having these 4 people. Imagine having 12 people of this caliber who work together on at least a monthly basis, if not a bi-weekly basis, throughout the year, and they form that connection, freshman year or sophomore year, and they work together. You're going to form these bonds of amazing Muslims over time, and so on. And so we do a lot of the coaching in that group setting. And then, of course, yes, the people who are members of that, we have like an IV cohort type thing for people who are really aiming high. And of course, those involve some, one-on-ones with me and with other college experts, inshallah. purchase the notes compiled by Ali. You gotta get your landing page together soon, inshallah. If you need any help, I got a wonderful brother in Pakistan who helps me with things like that.
Sure, yeah. No, I think Saad just said use Gumroad to distribute. I just pulled it up. I think it looks like a good resource, so I do appreciate it.
Okay, great. How much is the boot camp? We covered that. I think what are the common supplements needed? Huh. Anyone want to take that? Omar, we haven't heard from you for a little bit.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. I also like pinned a question that says answer live. Do you want me to answer that one or
Sure. Yeah. Maybe just cover the supplements one and then go do the other one you wanted to do.
Okay, repeat the question. What I understand from it is you're saying like what do they usually ask on a supplemental essay question?
Mhm.
Okay. So a lot of them follow the same structure. And what I found was when I was planning on applying to 20 schools, like a lot of the essays I had already done fit in pretty nicely to the other ones, but obviously you can't just copy and paste the same essay. A lot of questions, I mean, we covered one, what's like something that's intellectually challenged you. Another thing, honestly, I'm happy to pull up a couple if you guys will wait with me. Maybe you could answer like one question and come back to me.
Okay, inshallah.
So
Do you have packages in which you'll work with the students one-on-one? Inshallah, yeah. So please, if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can definitely reach out to me. We can set up an initial consult on stuff like that. Like I said, I do a lot in the group coaching format. I find that you can get a lot and learn a lot from that. Obviously, yes, you do have some one-on-one time as well. I also am part of a huge network, professional network of other independent consultants. So sometimes people come to me and they have needs or specialties or things where I think they can be best served by someone else. And then I can also help you find people who would work well for you. The WhatsApp group, I don't know if anyone in the audience is there. If you're in an experts group, you could share that link. Unfortunately, so we have 2 WhatsApp groups. The discussion group is actually full. I've been meaning for days to create a second WhatsApp discussion group, but I haven't done it yet. So I will, and you'll on the email list, I will send out as soon as we do that, we'll send out a join link. That's just exploded in popularity and so on. So I will get that done. Financial aid, that's a good question. I forgot to mention this. For the essentials one, part of our mission here is to provide high quality advice for people across the board. So the essentials one, which it doesn't involve the one-on-one mentorship, but it does involve everything else, is something where if that price of whatever it came down to, around $600 or whatever, is still too much for your family, and you not just you don't want to pay it because but if you genuinely have the financial situation, you're getting need-based financial aid from your schools, etc. Please, just all you do is send me an email, and we have like a pay what you can policy for for the do-it-yourself type tier of our products. So that is something that I'm committed to as well. Again, this isn't just like sometimes Muslims hear things like that and they're like, it really is to help people who don't have access to that. This is, after all, business. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has seen fit for me to support my family, etc. I need to pay all these wonderful mentors in front of you. So, but at the same time, yes, we do that. Is it taking place all 14 days or the 2 weeks in August? It starts officially it starts on August 4th and goes those next 2 weeks. So that's a Sunday to Sunday for 2 weeks. But there will be time before and maybe even after where you'll have some access. It will cut off for good as of August 31st. So if some of the mentor meetings have to go a little bit over the 2 weeks, then it can. We don't have like super strict like cutoff, but that's the general plan. Can freshmen join the boot camp? We'll have other programs for freshmen. I do not recommend this for freshmen, for sophomores, for 8th graders. If you're a junior, maybe, possibly, if there's a specific reason, if you're applying for things, but definitely for seniors. Juniors, like they really can benefit, but and so on.
Brother Hamza,
Yeah.
I'm ready if you
Okay, go for it. So do you
yes.
need to share your screen?
No, that won't be necessary.
Oh, okay.
So, one very common one is an extracurricular essay, and so, and they usually structure it like, for example, I'm looking at the Harvard application I filled out. It says, briefly describe any of your extracurriculars, employment experience, travel, or family responsibilities. So, a lot of these essay questions give you direction, but they're very broad because they want you to pick like if travel experiences is what's really shaped who you are, then that's the avenue you can take where you're trying to get to the same destination, but there's a million one ways to get there. And then I also looked into like a more specific way to organize what are the common types of questions. So there's an experiences question. And like this is like what something along the lines of what are your diverse experiences like, and then it can relate to travel or what's one experience that shaped you. The why this school question, this is a specific question that there's a very specific structure you want to follow. Of course, you want to tie it into your own personal narrative, but there's many things that you want to hit on, and you want to show many different ways that the school stands out to you. And so I'll keep it at that. There's many more, and this is all something I'd be happy to cover. I pinned a question, but if there's no time, we could get to it later if you want.
Yeah, I don't know where, like, I don't know how to get down to the pinned question. But if you
I have it, but we
oh,
don't.
Hikmat's that's the other thing. If you guys see these things and you're not speaking, you're welcome to type answers. But yeah, why don't you go with your question, Omar, and then maybe Dina can choose one as well.
Okay, sounds good. I promise I'll keep it brief. So the question says, I do wonder what advice you have for students who are not sure what they want to study. So this is a spot I was in for a long time in high school. And to be honest, like I'd be lying if I said I had it all figured out. But that's okay because the point, you're not supposed to, like you can, but you're not supposed to have your whole life planned out at this point. You do want to apply with something specific, and depending on the school, they want you to apply for something specific. So you can see where your extracurriculars have been leading you to and what you've been most inclined to do, and that can be what you apply with, but it's not the end of the world if you don't know. That's all. Thanks.
So I just saw one simple question. Everyone who bought the premium level before this webinar gets that same bonus that I mentioned before. That was a question. Do you only get it if you buy now? No, if you bought before, alhamdulillah, you were the early bird. Early bird gets the worm. So yes, of course you get that bonus. But the other ones, it's just, you know, the people who buy now. Dina, is there a question you see that you'd like to tackle? There's amazing questions here. I wish we could do them all.
There are two that I'll try and hit on very quickly. One is, how specifically did you convince admission offices that you would bring something to the table that were special in your application? Obviously the answer is going to depend on what it is actually that you bring to the table. So like, you know, I'm not going to be able to tell you specifically what to write, but I do think this is a great question because it highlights the importance of like not just showing that you're smart. So I think examples of like things that you might not think are really valuable are the fact that maybe you're someone who like asks the questions that people are too afraid to ask in class because they're worried they'll look stupid, or you're a person who brings people together, or you're a person who is able to like facilitate dialogue between people who disagree with one another, or that you're someone who really stands for your values. And like I think like one thing, for example, that like I don't think of as being like a super like marketable trait, but that did come up in my applications, is that like I like ask a lot of questions, and like, you know, like my the thing that ended up being like my defining trait in my applications is that I'm very curious. And so I think that when you are trying to answer questions about like what you bring to the college community, think about like what you bring to your friend group. Like are you the one who always initiates the plans? Are you the one who always remembers to bring the snacks? Are you the one who knows everyone's allergies? Like those are the kinds of things, like what you bring to any group of people is a personality trait of yours that's valuable and that you will also bring with you when you go to college. Another question that I liked was, they asked if everyone can do this, but in the interest of time, we might not get to everyone, but they asked if everyone can name like one flaw or like one room for improvement from their application. And I think for me, actually, this is something that goes back to like kind of the 5 before college theme is like, I think in writing my applications, like I did the best I could with what I knew at the time, but I wish that I had known about a lot of like programs and opportunities earlier in high school and even, you know, maybe in middle school that would have given me more accomplishments and given me more to write about. I think a lot of my application was to emphasize that, you know, I did a lot with a little, and that I, despite not having these really, really competitive programs and like these really like prestigious competitions or whatever, like I still tried my best to learn. But if I could have done things differently, I would have gone back and I would have signed up for the competitions that I know about now. I would have applied for the internships that I know about now. I would have taken the classes that I know about now. So I think like trying to connect yourself with people who are outside of your immediate network, who have achieved success, doing like this like LinkedIn grind that Ali has done and asking people what they did before it's too late for you to do the same is so important. Like I would be so happy now if like there were someone who were in early in high school and was like, oh, I'm interested in XYZ subject. Like, what is there in the world related to this? Like, how can I show that I'm good at it other than just having a good grade in my small school? So I think that's super important. And like starting as early as you can, like, of course, for those of you who are writing your applications now, don't go and like rush to like join a new club or something just to put it on your application. But for those of you who are younger and who have been asking like, am I too young for this boot camp? You probably are too young for the boot camp, but you're not too young to start like building yourself up to being a person who will be able to have really valuable things to write about when you do get to this stage.
MashaAllah. Beautiful answer. Just technical one, is the course yearly or one time? So we're running this one in the summer for people who start early and really want to get their things done. This is the best time to get your college application done because most of you are still on summer break. I know some crazy California, Texas people go back at early August, but essentially you're doing it before the heart of the senior year. We will likely run at least one more boot camp, either right before the actual early deadline, but more likely right before the regular deadline when you have all those supplements and other things to run. So we will likely do something again, depending on, you know, what I see as the needs, what people are telling me, what I'm hearing. If there's a need for that, there's a want for that, there's a desire for that, then we might run it again. And it certainly, I hope to make this an annual thing. The only thing I will change next year is the name. Actually, I went back and forth between two different names. One was College Essay Bootcamp. One was the Ihsan Admissions Intensive, which is the name I wish I'd gone with because it has. We're doing more than just college essays. It is the whole admissions thing, and it also brings the Islamic component into it a little bit more clearly. So it might change its name, but inshallah it will be a similar program. Hikmat, were there any questions there that you wanted to answer live?
Overall, I mean, the main questions were just kind of like a repetition of, you know, like I think a lot of people are kind of getting stuck to this idea of like, what are the exact like stats or extracurriculars? Just kind of like getting into this idea of like there's a formula. Once again, just to reiterate, like I truly believe that there is not an exact guaranteed AP course that's going to get you in or exact extracurricular that's going to get you in. It is truly based off of who you are as a person and what you find interested in. And I feel like if you make sure that in every single step that you take, you are pursuing your own passions and you're being true to yourself, I think this application process, as difficult as it can be, you're going to reap a lot of the rewards and the benefits from it, as long as you just basically stay consistent with who you are.
Alhamdulillah. Excellent. Someone else asked about Instagram, I think Ruhina. By the way, Ruhina, I don't know if she changed her name, but she is my wife, but also she's sort of functioning as the admin behind the scenes in the chat. So if you've seen her answering a lot of questions, that's who that is. So we do have an Instagram. I think it's under my name at Hamza Henshaw. Need some work. Always looking for social media prowess. Not an area that I'm particularly strong in. So this is sort of a community endeavor. So people are TikTok specialists or something in the audience, please reach out. I'd be interested to learn more. Okay, I really want to wrap it up. There were a lot of questions for Ali around computer science and UTS. I don't know if you saw anything in there
Yeah, I
that.
just saw it really, I mean,
Yeah.
really quickly. So I got a question saying, did you do any coding projects during the summer or any extracurriculars related to it, and what would you recommend? Again, very similar to what Hekman was saying. I would assume that most computer science applicants are probably doing coding projects. The way that I went about it is staying true to myself, doing stuff that kind of put me in a niche, right? I did have a couple of coding projects, but a lot of what I did that was computer science related was in AI and entrepreneurship. So I ran a nonprofit that taught AI to vulnerable communities and underserved communities. So, I mean, I did have some coding projects, but that wasn't really my main thing. And then I also saw another one, any tips or strategies in crafting the main essay for UT Austin, applying for CS? I would love to answer that question, but maybe you should join the workshop and inshallah I can tutor you.
Excellent. That's great. So the only thing we have left is awarding of this the most engaged person in the chat and so on. I have not been able to watch the chat. One of my favorite things after these webinars is to go in and read through the chat that I missed when I was actually teaching and whatnot. Always amazing stuff in there. So I have asked Ruhina to select someone, and the winner of the Stanley or the $50 gift card, whichever you prefer, is none other than Sana Irshad. So Sana Irshad is still with us. That is someone who I guess I don't know if Ruhina's able to talk about the criteria. I don't know if she's not a panelist, so I don't know if she's able to even talk. But
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Before you even said her name, I was just reading the most adorable comment
Mhm.
from her. It says, "I sometimes feel lost about what I want to be, and this has been really helpful." That's so sweet, and also like I'll speak for myself at least, but I think all of us also feel lost about what we want to be, even within the things that we currently are. So I'm really glad that this was helpful for you, and congratulations.
That's amazing. That's such a great way to finish it up. I know that we only scratched the surface. I know you want more time with these people. I mean, I hate to say it, but that is why we created the course. We will have things like this. Some people are asking, like, what if my mentor, like, can I get advice from the other mentors? Like, that's the purpose of the office hours, right? That I'm going to be in most of them, and then at least one or two of the different mentors will be in those office hours. So you get a chance to hear from different voices. That being said, you don't want too many cooks spoil the biryani. That's one thing I always tell people. Like, you don't want to get advice from like 10 different people about your essay, or else it becomes an essay by committee and so on. At the same time, of course, each of these mentors has so much to offer, and the other ones who may join as well. So Jazakallahu khair. I really appreciate it. Hamza, we only went half an hour over, so Muslim Standard Time, I don't know, pretty close. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you who stayed all this long. Sana Irshad, if you are here, could you please, well, I can get your contact information from your webinar registration. I will email you and find out which one you prefer, unless, yeah. If you want to put in the chat, just so we know, are you going Stanley or are you going gift card? People want to know. Thank you so much. Are you gonna do the big reveal? Alhamdulillah. I want to put her on the spot. Well, I already put her on the spot. Okay. Jazakallah khair, everyone. Hope you were able to get that bonus. Inshallah, we're closing that. Inshallah, now, but Jazakallah khair. She wants the gift card. Okay, Bismillah. Easy. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.